Drive through enough small towns in America and you start to notice a pattern. You might not see a Target, a Costco, a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, or a big regional shopping center. You may not even see a full-service grocery store, but there's a pretty good chance you're going to see a dollar store, a Dollar General on the edge of town, a Dollar Tree in a small strip center, a Family Dollar on the main road. Sometimes it's sitting next to a gas station or across from a school. Sometimes it's one of the only national retail signs you can find for miles. That's why dollar stores are such a fascinating topic in small towns across America. They're easy to dismiss, easy to criticize, easy to defend. But for retail real estate investors, they're more useful if we don't start with a judgment. Instead, we should start with a question. What's this store telling us about the market? In one market, it might be convenient, profitable, well-located tenant that serves a real customer need. In another, it might be a warning sign that the community lacks full-service grocery access, has limited tenant depth, or cannot support stronger retail options. That's the dollar store debate. Opportunity or warning sign? The answer is it could be both, and that's what makes it worth studying. To understand why dollar stores are everywhere in small towns across America, we have to go back a little bit. Dollar General traces its roots to the Turner family in Kentucky in 1939, where J.L. Turner and Cal Turner started a wholesale dry goods business. And by the 40s, they were serving customers directly through small department stores. The idea that eventually became Dollar General came from something simple: Dollar Days. These were promotions where department stores would advertise items for $1. Cal Turner Sr. noticed how popular those promotions were, and in 1955, Turner's department store in Springfield, Kentucky was converted into the first Dollar General, built around one price point, $1. From the beginning, the model was about basic merchandise, practical customers, and value. Dollar General's own history page includes an early annual report quote that says, quote, "We've always lived in small towns, always done business in small towns, and the company says approximately 80% of its stores are located in communities of 20,000 people or fewer." Family Dollar followed a similar value-oriented path. Leon Levine opened the first Family Dollar store in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1959, with the goal of offering affordable products for hardworking families. The company grew steadily through the 60s and 70s, had more than 1,500 stores by 1989, and then the 1990s and 2000s became a major growth period as Family Dollar built a national presence. But the real explosion of dollar stores in small towns happened later. During the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, a few things came together. Big box retailers like Walmart had already changed the retail landscape. Regional malls, department stores, and many local merchants were under pressure. Independent grocers in rural areas were often operating on thin margins. And many small towns had customers who still needed basic goods but did not have the population density or income profile to attract a larger format retailer. Dollar stores fit that gap perfectly. They were smaller, cheaper to build, they could operate with lower overhead, they could go into towns and crossroads where a full supermarket or Target or big box store would not pencil. And they could serve the customer who did not want to drive 20, 30, 40 minutes for paper towels, laundry detergent, snacks, medicine, or something for dinner. That's when dollar stores became more than a retail category. They became part of the small town landscape. The USDA Economic Research Service says dollar stores became increasingly visible in rural counties leading up to 2015, experiencing the second largest growth among food retailers from 1990 to 2015, behind only supercenters. That's the key historical shift. Dollar stores did not explode in small towns just because people wanted cheap products. They exploded because the retail map changed. Large retailers consolidated into bigger boxes and stronger corridors. Small town grocers and local merchants faced more pressure but consumers still needed convenience and value. Dollar stores found a way to profitably serve low-density markets that many other retailers either could not serve or chose not to serve. So when we see a Dollar General or Dollar Tree or Family Dollar in a hometown market today, we're not just looking at a random small box on the side of the road. We're looking at decades of retail evolution. Today, Dollar General has over 20,000 stores across the US and Mexico. Dollar Tree operates more than 9,000 stores across North America. And in 2025, the company opened 402 new stores and converted or added about 2,400 stores to its Dollar Tree 3.0 multi-price format. We're looking at the aftermath of big box expansion, rural grocery pressure, consumer trade down, and the search for convenience in places where retail options may be limited. That's why this topic's so important for investors. The dollar store is not just a tenant, it's a clue. It tells us something about how small town America changed and what kind of retail still works there. But there's a paradox. Dollar stores can look like opportunity and weakness at the same time. On the positive side, they serve real needs. They're close, they're convenient, they sell basic goods at low prices, and they operate in smaller markets where a larger retailer may not pencil. They can give a landlord a national tenant and a long-term lease. But there's another side. In some towns, the dollar store is not just a convenient option. It's the only option, and that changes the conversation. If the dollar store is the closest place to buy food or medicine or cleaning supplies, household basics, then it may be telling us something deeper about the market. That's why investors have to read the context. A dollar store in a healthy trade area is convenient. A dollar store in a fragile trade area can be a warning sign. Before we debate whether dollar stores are good or bad, we've got to understand why the model works. Dollar stores aren't trying to be Walmart. They're not trying to be Target. They're trying to be close, quick, affordable, good enough for the trip the customer needs to make. Most dollar stores are relatively small. They don't need a giant site or the same population base as a full supermarket. They can enter rural communities, edge of town sites, county roads, small highway corridors, low density trade areas where larger retailers may not go. And for the customer, they solve a simple problem. You forgot paper towels, you need laundry detergent, you need snacks, you need a birthday card, you need medicine, you need canned goods, cereal, pet food, cleaning supplies, batteries, or something seasonal. You don't want to drive 25 minutes. You don't want a complicated trip. You just want to get in and out. That's the trip dollar stores are built around. And in these hometown markets, that trip matters because distance matters, convenience matters, price matters. When investors look at hometown markets, they sometimes make the mistake of thinking population tells the whole story. But in smaller markets, retail demand is often about drive time, not just density. A town may only have 5,000 or 10,000 people inside the city limits, but it might pull from surrounding rural communities. It might sit on a county road people use every day. It might be near schools, churches, local employers, a highway route. It might be the closest retail node for a much larger area. That's where dollar stores can work. They do not need the entire retail ecosystem to be mature. They can survive on convenience, basics, repeat small basket trips. In many hometown markets, that's enough. And this is also why they can be a clue for investors. If a dollar store is operating successfully in a low density area, it tells you there's some level of recurring demand. People are spending money there. The store is capturing trips. The site probably has decent access, and the location may be serving a wider trade area than the population number suggests. But the dollar store alone does not answer the bigger question. What kind of demand is it capturing? Is it supplementing a healthy retail mix, or is it substituting for retail that doesn't exist? That's the difference. If a town has a Walmart, a local grocer, a pharmacy, QSR, medical, schools, a dollar store, then the dollar store may simply be part of a broader daily needs ecosystem. But if the town has a dollar store and almost nothing else, that means something different. That might be an underserved market, or it might be a fragile market. And investors need to know which one they're dealing with. Let's start with the positive case. Dollar stores can fill real needs. It's easy to talk about retail from an investment perspective and forget the customer. But in many communities, especially small towns and rural areas, the dollar store may be one of the most convenient places to buy everyday basics. For a family on a tight budget, value matters. For an older customer with limited transportation, distance matters. For someone working 2 jobs, time matters. For a town that does not have many national retailers, access matters. That doesn't mean the dollar store is perfect. It just means we should be honest about the need it serves. From a landlord's perspective, there can also be a real investment case. Dollar stores are often national tenants. They can sign longer leases, occupy smaller sites. They can bring credit tenancy into markets where most tenants are local or regional. They generate predictable rent, and for some investors, especially net lease buyers, that predictability is attractive. A small format national tenant with a long lease in a market that larger retailers ignore can be a real asset. And that's why the conversation should not be reduced to dollar stores are bad. That's too simple. They provide value, convenience, basic goods, and they can be profitable tenants. But this is where the story turns, because the fact that a dollar store solves a need does not mean the overall market is healthy. Let's look at the other side. A dollar store can also reveal market weakness. It can signal low household income or limited grocery access. It can signal that stronger retailers are not willing to enter the market. It can signal that the local retail ecosystem, it's thin. And that's where the debate gets more serious. The USDA Economic Research Service studied the impact of dollar store entry on independent grocery stores and found that the effect was more significant in rural areas than in urban ones. When a new dollar store opened in a rural area, the likelihood of an independent grocery store closing was 5%, compared with 1.7% in urban areas. Rural independent grocers also experienced larger declines in employment and sales after dollar store entry. That matters because independent grocers play a unique role in hometown markets. They just aren't places to buy food. They can be local employers. They carry local products. They create local identity. And in many smaller markets, they're already operating on thin margins. So if a dollar store opens and captures trips for snacks, paper goods, cleaning supplies, packaged foods, household basics, that can chip away at categories the local grocer depends on. The dollar store may not be trying to replace the grocery store, but if enough high-margin trips move away from the grocer's economics can get weaker. And if the grocer closes, the community may be left with less food access than before. That's the uncomfortable part of the dollar store story. A store can improve access to some goods while weakening access to others. It can make it easier to buy packaged food and household basics while making it harder for a full-service grocery store to survive. That's why investors cannot just look at the leases. They have to look at the ecosystem. Food access is one of the biggest reasons dollar stores have become controversial. And it's not just a simple issue. In some communities, a dollar store may improve access because it gives residents a nearby place to buy basics. In other communities, it may hurt access if it contributes to the closure of a full-service grocer. A University of Florida study published in 2025 found that dollar stores may reduce food access in specific under-resourced urban environments, especially places that initially had only one grocery store. But the researchers also emphasize that the effect depends on local conditions and that in many other areas, dollar store entry had little or no impact on grocery access. That's the nuance. For investors, the dollar store should be treated as a market signal. It tells you something is happening, but you still have to interpret it. Here's the framework. First, ask whether the store is additive or substitutive. Is it one option among many, or is it carrying too much of the town's basic retail demand by itself? If the dollar store is surrounded by a healthy grocer, pharmacy, QSR, schools, medical offices, and other daily needs tenants, that is one kind of market. If it's surrounded by vacant buildings and the nearest full-service grocery store is 25 miles away, that's another. Second, look at the trade area. Don't just look at city population, look at drive times. Look at the surrounding communities. Look at schools, employers, hospitals, churches, county offices, industrial plants, highway access. The store may be serving more people than the town population suggests. Third, study income and spending power. Low income does not automatically make a market bad. Plenty of value-oriented retail works in lower income areas. But income does affect rent tolerance, tenant demand, sales potential, replacement option. Fourth, look at grocery access. Is there a full-service grocer nearby? Is it local, regional, national? Does the town have fresh food options? Are people leaving town for weekly grocery trips? This matters because a dollar store next to a strong grocery anchor means something very different than a dollar store replacing the only local grocer. Fifth, study replacement tenant depth. This is critical because if the dollar store leaves, who takes the box? Could it become auto parts or medical, a thrift store, a local grocer, or does the building just sit empty? That question tells you a lot about downside risk. And finally, ask whether the site is on the growth path. A dollar store at a growing highway node near new rooftops or schools and traffic might be part of an emerging corridor. A dollar store in a declining area with no other tenant interest might simply be the last national brand willing to operate there. Same tenant, very different story. A simple way to think about this is to divide dollar store markets into three categories. The first is the healthy convenience market. In this type of market, the dollar store is part of a larger retail ecosystem. There's a grocer, restaurants, maybe a Walmart, a medical office, and other local employers. The dollar store is not the only option. It's just a convenient option. For investors, this can be a solid market if the site's good, the rent sustainable, and the replacement demand reasonable. The second is the underserved market. Here, the dollar store is filling a real gap. The town may not have enough retail. Residents may be driving elsewhere for groceries, restaurants, pharmacy, household goods. The dollar store proves there's basic demand, but it also reveals missing categories. This can be interesting for investors. Maybe there is leakage to recapture. Maybe the town could support QSR, medical, auto service, grocery, or other daily needs tenants. But you have to be careful. Underserved doesn't always mean underbuilt. Sometimes the demand is there, sometimes it's not deep enough. The third is the fragile market. This is where the dollar store is one of the only retail options left. The grocer may be gone, population may be flat or declining, household incomes may be weak, tenant demand may be thin, the building might be hard to backfill, and the town may not have enough economic drivers to support a stronger retail mix. This is the riskiest version. It may still produce rent, it may still be a real investment, but the margin for error is much smaller. So the framework is simple. In a healthy market, the dollar store is convenience. In an underserved market, it's a clue. In a fragile market, it may be a warning sign. The dollar store debate is really a lesson in how to think about hometown America. These markets are easy to misunderstand. If you only look at population, you might miss the opportunity. If you only look at cap rate, you may miss the risk. If you only look at the tenant name, you may miss the market story. That's why small market retail requires judgment. You have to understand the trade area. You have to understand the consumer. You have to understand drive times. You have to know where the grocery store is. You have to know whether the school district is growing. You have to know whether the local employer is expanding or shrinking. You have to know whether the highway exit is becoming the new commercial corridor. You have to know whether people are driving out of town because they want to or because they have no choice. That's the real work. And that's also where the opportunity lives, because a lot of investors do not want to do that work. They see a small town and skip it. They see a dollar store and make an assumption. They see cheap real estate and either dismiss it or overbuy it. But the best hometown retail investors do something different. They ask better questions. They do not just ask, who is a tenant? They ask, what does this tenant reveal? They do not just ask, what's the cap rate? They ask, why is the cap rate high? They do not just ask, how many people live here? They ask, how does this trade area behave? That's the difference between buying small town retail and understanding hometown America. So, are dollar stores an opportunity or a warning sign? The honest answer is yes, they can be both. They can provide convenience, value, access to basic goods. They can produce stable rent. They can serve customers that other retailers ignore. They can prove there's demand in places that look too small on paper. But they can also reveal fragile household economics. They can signal limited grocery access. They can pressure independent grocers. They can expose a lack of tenant diversity. And they can leave investors with real downside risk if the store closes and there's no one to replace it. So the dollar store's not the conclusion. It's the beginning of the investigation. In hometown America, the same tenant can tell two completely different stories. In one town, it may be a healthy convenience tenant. In another, it may be the last national retailer standing. And for investors, that distinction matters because the goal is not to decide whether dollar stores are good or bad. The goal is to learn how to read what they are telling us about demand, access, income, grocery, tenant depth, the future of the trade area. That's what makes this topic so important. Dollar stores are not just small boxes on the side of the road, they're signals. And in overlooked markets, signals matter because the best opportunities in hometown America are often hiding in plain sight. But so are the risks.